Well, the easiest way to think of the holistic model is that the person you're dealing with is who they are at this moment in all places. So they're who they are psychologically, they're who they are with regards to their history, they're who they are with regards to what's going on in their body, they're who they are with regards to their spiritual orientation. All of that reality is all sort of intermingled. And in a body sense, people carry all that, right in their tissues, or at least it certainly seems that way. And if you work under the assumption as if they're carrying all that in their tissues, some amazing things can happen. So that's kind of one aspect of the holistic model, is just, it doesn't make any sense to separate the mind from the body, from the psyche, from the way that you think, from your history, because it's all just one mishmash. And if you just pay too much attention to one side, you may be totally neglecting the other side. So, for instance, that might come into play where, you might see somebody who's receiving, excellent medical care, but if they don't have that one-on-one connection, such as they might have gotten, previously in a nursing situation or something like that, they might find their overall desire to live not as high, or they just might not feel as vital. It's just one of the reasons people go into hospitals with animals, because people have had that connection with animals, and that kind of connection that they get just from petting the dog can be incredibly healing for them. So, so all of that is kind of related to the holistic model. Another thing I think that the holistic model really excels in, and particularly again in cranial and Reiki work, is sort of letting people have their own reality. So in cranial work, for instance, what you say to people is, belief system is sacred. That it's not up to me to have anything to do with my belief system. If somebody says they believe in angels, if somebody says, their elbow wants to talk about something that happened when they were 5 years old, it's whatever it is. And finding people sort of in that context where they can just be who they are is, again, it's incredibly empowering for people, because they don't have to keep part of themselves out of the process. And sometimes those parts, whether it's the angels or the elbow or whatever it is, have something very, very important to add to the healing process. In fact, usually if they come up in a session, they almost always have something important to add. And I think probably the third thing about the holistic model is simply this active listening, which is very, very important, because, I think it's easy for people sometimes to feel like if you're only paying attention to one part of them, that these other parts are being ignored, and that doesn't feel good, any more than it feels good to have to be ignored in a conversation, or somebody is only wanting to talk to you about one specific thing, and no matter what else you want to talk about, it's not part of the conversation. And I think, in some ways, I think healing is based on being able to be as much of yourself as possible. That's actually my business model, as I might have mentioned. That there's something about that process of being allowed to bring in all of these parts of yourself that puts you in a different position with regards to, kind of being in a healing space. And I think that that's actually, aside from all the theory about the biomechanics and, anything else that we might do, and the energy work and all that other kind of stuff, there is some good evidence for just the fact that that active listening helps people be in a position where they can heal themselves.